What's my prediction of who's going to win the title, but we'll find out a little bit later on with our podium at around about 4:30 this afternoon, local time here in Belgium. Time now locally is 13:51. So the red lights are ignited on the starting gantry. 13 minutes set on the clock one more time for Micromax to go racing here this weekend and also in the 2019 campaign with it all to play for. And the good thing is that already by the exit of turn number 9, we have got them in 2x2 rolling start formation here. So they come round towards turn 12 to kickstart their season finale here at Karting Genk, the home of champions. Let's go racing one final time for Micromax. They come into the tram lines and the revs rise. They enter into the tram lines, full start called. So full start it is. So they're going to have to reset again. So they're going to bring it to a crawl heading into turn number 5. So full yellow flag conditions here. The rain is still falling here in Limburg, in the Limburg region in Genk, as they go through turn number 6. They're going to have a bit of a tall order ahead of them because it's anyone's guess as to what is going to happen here. As they now go in dual file formation through into turn number 7. So just bear with us. So red flag has been called. As soon as I've got a further update, I will inform you accordingly. Thank you. So everything is now being restored. Our timekeeping is now back up and functioning. So one formation lap this time. So the drivers will get ready to steel themselves for 13 minutes plus an additional lap.
That's it.
So the drivers really need to get into formation pretty quickly, which they are doing now, being told to slow coming into the final corner.
Okay.
So once again, the grid is as follows. Kasper Schulmans, Thomas Strauven are on the front row, ahead of Swiderski, Nijs, Van der Stroys, Jonkers, Rudenkovic, Tom Vange-Langendonk, Ollie Wise, Karel Stout, Kaz Tobben, and Dries Vange-Langendonk, rounding out the 12 strong. So they go into the tram lines. Will we get going? They rise to the occasion and they go racing for the final time in 2019. Do the Micromax contingent. The plume of spray being ejected from the rear tyres on the karts as it's nearly 3-4 abreast. Swiderski trying to go up into third place does so, and someone was very, very brazen there. I'm wondering if that's Olivier Jonkers maybe, having got back up into fourth place. So at the minute, the field is pretty much quite closely concertinaed together thus far, apart from one driver. Looks to me being Dries Vange-Langendonk that's a bit forlorn at the back part of the field. So some of the drivers really, really getting stuck in and getting into the meat and potatoes of this race as they're trying to fight amongst one another. Ollie Wise has definitely got a lot to handle in front of him, at least two competitors. So if he can get past, maybe he's got a chance of maybe going a bit further forward. Tommy van der Stroy is looking to be in 6th position at the minute. Ollie Wise is just a couple of places back in 8th. As they now come round to complete lap number 1. And Tommy van der Stroy has got Karel Stout and Ollie Wise there. As there's a big bit of standing water just on the approach on the outside towards turn 12 as Kasper Schulmans takes a look over the right shoulder and is leading by just over 0.3 of a second as Ollie Wise is slingshotting past Karel Stout for position. Is he going to make it through? I think he has. He has, hasn't he? Yes, he has. And he's actually icing, it looks to be, Tommy van der Stroys. So van der Stroys drops down the order, trying to go up the inside of the Brit into turn 4, but Wise is pretty much in front. That's a great move from the 56 from the United Kingdom through turn number 4. Great job from him. So at the minute, it is still Kasper Schulmans. Thomas Strauven leading, Swiderski in 2nd, Nijs in 3rd, Swiderski in 3rd, Nijs down in 4th position. But there's still plenty of this race still to go here. As it's going to be an interesting point over the next few moments in this race. As we've got about 10.5 minutes remaining, as there's an absolute battle royale, and Tommy van der Stroy is really on the back foot. He's struggling in these wet weather conditions. As Ollie Wise now trying to chase down Karel Stout for position, and just ahead of him is not just Karel Stout, it's also Matej Rudenkovic in the 99. So really, it's changing the dynamics of what could happen in deciding this year's title. Van der Stroy really needs to get a motor on now and try and move up the field. But with the top 4 already breaking away quite considerably at this point. So Schulmans still leads. Strauven still in 2nd. And who's not to say what might happen come the end of this particular race, because your guess is as good as mine. The unpredictability factor has really kicked into high gear as they come through into turn 7. So Schulmans still continuing to lead. Strauven getting a little bit closer now in 2nd position. A little bit of a gap between Strauven and Swiderski, with Len Nijs still rounding out the top 4. So 9 minutes and 14 plus an additional lap left to go on the clock here. So Schulmans, Strauven, Swiderski, Nijs, and it looks to be Olivier Jonkers, Matej Rudenkovic, And Tommy van der Stroys is really struggling. He's got Tom van Langendonk, it looks like, just behind the 54. That's a real struggle for van der Stroys, who's been absolutely nowhere in this final. And that's a real championship ramification item there to consider. So we are coming to just over 8 minutes remaining in this race, and Schurman's now being pressurised by by Strauven. Swiderski still keeping resolute in third place. The rain is still hitting hard here at the asphalt in Genk, as there's another move up the inside. Radenkovic looks to have lost out to Olivier Jonkers. They are trading places, but that's allowing the likes of Karel Stout and Ollie Wise to close up on them. So the leaders come around to complete another lap here. So the gap now between first and second was just over 3.5 tenths. It's now it's pretty much there that Strauven is trying to close in on Schurman's, which makes me sort of believe that van der Stroys' title hopes have been sort of what expunged, but I'm not too sure. It's going to be whatever happens at the end of the weekend results, because the weekend winner here will also get a ticket to the International Trophy at Le Mans next August. But then there's also the championship title that is on the line here. I've not been sure of what's going to be the outcome of this weekend, but Kasper Schurmans really has helped his fighting chances, having come into this round with just a 15-point deficit to Tommy van der Stroys, who is not having the best day in the office. Swiderski is coming under pressure from Len Nys, going into turn number 10. So we're about to complete lap number 5, and at the minute, Schurmans still leads. Strauven still in second as Max Swiderski runs through the big standing water puddle on the left-hand side of the approach, heading into turn 12. Schurmans takes a look over the right shoulder and sees where Strauven is. It's just over 3 tenths between the pair. You've then got Nys, Swiderski, Jonkers. You've then got the 15 of Dries van Langendonk, Matej Radenkovic, Karel Stout, Ollie Wise down in 9th, but is ahead of Tommy van der Stroys from the Netherlands, who is absolutely nowhere in relation to the Brit's current position, who's going through turn 3, just behind Karel Stout. So Ollie Wise trying to get another good place here. So he's got a chance, he's got time on his side. We've got about 5.5 minutes remaining, plus an additional lap. So the top two now really have broken away. The gap between Thomas Strauven and Len Nys last time around was around 1.85 seconds, to be as precise as I can be. So Schurmans comes out of turn 11, quickly being followed by Thomas Strauven. Len Nys and Max Swiderski continue their battle for third place, as Olivier Jonkers just willing his cart to go further forward and go faster as he hopes. Ahead of Dries van Langendonk, Matej Radenkovic, Karel Stout still having to fend off Ollie Wise from the United Kingdom for position. That is for 8th on the road. As we go into the last 5 minutes plus an additional lap, it's 4 minutes and 43 seconds on the clock remaining. Swiderski goes a bit wide coming through turn 3, loses a little bit of ground in the battle for third position over Len Nys, as Tommy van der Stroys is having the battle for 10th now. And up the inside, that looks like Kaz Tobin is trying to go up the inside of the 54. So 2 Dutch drivers over the bottom part of the top 10. So van der Stroys still very much vehemently defending that position quite heftily there. And it's not allowing Kaz Tobin to have an opportunity to get past. But Thomas Strauven really keeping pace with Kasper Schomans at the front of the field. Len Nys in third place. Max Siderski rounds out the top 4. Then it's Olivier Jonkers completing the top 5. And in there are 3 GKS drivers. Then you've also got Dries van Langendonk, Matteo de Denkovic, Karel Stout, Ollie Wise, Tommy van der Stroys, Kaz Tobben, and Tom van Langendonk as Kaz Tobben trying to get the run on Tommy van der Stroys on the short blast down into turn number 10. So we have 3.5 minutes to go plus an additional lap. The gap between the top 2 just under 0.28 of a second. Strauven gets really close to the back bumper of Schomans through into turn number 2. They both take the same sort of racing line going through, which is a little bit more of a wider sweep rather than hitting the apex and bouncing over the curbs, which would lose them time. As Ollie Wise, I think, has made the move on. Yes, he has. He's gone past Karel Stout and taken 8th place through turn 3. The pair were nearly side by side coming out of turn 2, and what a move from Ollie Wise, really relishing these wet weather conditions. And Karel Stout, I think, just got a bit caught unawares there, and Ollie Wise just sprung right past in the 56. So the lead is now coming through into turn number 9, and we've got 2 minutes and 40 plus an additional lap left to go. The only positional change at the moment is that Ollie Wise has overtaken Karel Stout for position. That is 8th place now on the road. But they're still battling over it, and Karel Stout takes a tighter line. Wise goes wide out of turn 9. Nearly goes 4 wheels onto the curbing on the runoff area on the outside of it, and has to relinquish the position to the number 3 from Belgium. But it's still even Steven in terms of the gap between first and second position. Kasper Schomans and Thomas Stuyven still leading the way. We're fast approaching the conclusion of their season. We're into the last 1 minute and 58 seconds plus an additional lap. And Kasper Schomans is really doing a great job at the front and is controlling proceedings. He's not getting away from Thomas Stuyven, but this will help him no end at all. As they go through turn number 7. And now Nys and Siderski make their way through turn 7. There's a gap of around about 5 kart lengths going into the approach onto turn number 8 between the pair that are battling over 3rd and 4th place. And I'm just keeping an eye on what's happening a little bit further down as Matteo Denkovic still ahead of both Karel Stout and Ollie Wise. That's 7th, 8th and 9th on the road as the top 2 now make their way down into turn 12. And we've got less than a minute remaining plus an additional lap, and with the pace they're setting this time around, Strauven's got the run on Schomans. It's a drag race heading towards turns 1 and 2. Strauven had to back out of it quite wisely, goes towards to the outside line to get the cut back into turn 2, but Schomans was very wise to it. But no, Strauven gets up the inside of Schomans through turn 3. It looks like that might have been just a slight lack of control there, or loss of control thereof for Kasper Schomans. So Strauven just bided his time. He knew that this was going to be the penultimate lap. It is now, because we've only got 20 seconds of the Micromax season in the 2019 BNL Karting Series campaign to go. And it's going to count down. 7 seconds on the clock. They're probably going to get through halfway through turn 8 or just outside of turn 8 before the timer ticks away. That's it. Time has run out. 0 strikes on the clock as the leaders now battling tooth and nail. Schomans definitely wants to get past Strauven again to retake the lead, which he has pretty much held for the majority of this race up until just a few corners ago. And Strauven still leads. Schomans definitely wants to get back into first place as they go through the final corner. Penultimate time of asking. Now the final lap board gets shown. And Len Nys coming under pressure now from Max Siderski, who's in the tow, going down. But Nys takes the wise, tight defensive line. As Strauven now just really keeping his wits about him, looking to see where Schomans is in proximity. And Siderski really hot on the heels of Len Nys for 3rd place. Then we got Jonkers Dries van Langendonk, Mateo Radenkovic, Stout and Wise still battling over that position. That is 8th on the road. And that'll be a great effort after a very testing weekend from the youngster from the United Kingdom in the 56. And, well, I cannot believe my eyes right now. What's happened with Tommy van der Stroy? He is stone dead last, is the number 54 in 12th position. And he's about 2.8 seconds off Kaz Tobben in the 21. As Schulmans is going to go for the lead. He's got it from Strauben, who instantly fights back on the run down to turn 10. So Schulmans tried it. It didn't work out. He got through turn 9 in the lead, and Strauben said, "Oh no, you're not. Oh no, you're not." He goes down into turn 10, comes out of turn 11 in the lead. The checker flag's going to be waved the final time here for Micromax in 2019 in the BNL Karting Series, and taking the final victory of the season from GKS, it's Thomas Strauben. Kasper Schulmans takes a close second place. Third goes to Len Nys. Max Zaderski takes fourth. Olivier Jonkers fifth, ahead of Dries van Langendonk in 7th position. It's going to be close. Looks to be Mateo Radenkovic in the 99. Ahead of Karel Stout. Well done, Ollie Wise. A top 9 finish from the youngster from the United Kingdom in the 56th. Tom van Langendonk comes over in 10th place over the finish line. Kaz Tobben, and last, surprisingly, Tommy van der Stroy in the 54. But what a battle between Thomas Strauben and Kasper Schulmans, keeping me and probably the rest of the people still here entertained for the remainder of that race. So Thomas Strauben wins by less than half a second ahead of Kasper Schulmans. Len Nys in 3rd, Max Zaderski 4th, Olivier Jonkers, Dries van Langendonk, Mateo Radenkovic, Karel Stout, Ollie Wise, Tom van Langendonk, Kaz Tobben and Tommy van der Stroy rounding out the order. Right, so we now continue with our coverage here, and it's Minimax this time around. And the grid will be as follows. On pole position, champion-elect Tim Gerhards in the number 50. Jaden, and we'll go to Ben for a quick interview. Over to you, Ben.
Why is it not coming again?
So 13 minutes on the clock for the final race of the Minimax season. Tim Gerhardt's on pole, Jane Thien in second, Nick Gerhardt's Enzo Boll, that's row 2. We go, lights out, do we this time? Yes, and they surge away down towards turns 1 and 2. For the first time of asking, the 13 minutes have started to clock down on the timer, and it is an absolute squabble as Jane Thien looks to have taken the lead initially ahead of Tim Gerhardt's. Nick Gerhardt's, I think, looks to be in at least 3rd or 4th position as there is an absolute deluge of spray. The rain is not abating by any means in any way, shape or form as Jane Thien loses out to the lead, but already counter-attacks against Tim Gerhardt as the pair go side by side heading down into turn number 7. Thien's got the inside line and takes the lead back unceremoniously there with ruthless, controlled aggression, but Tim Gerhardt takes the initiative and goes back past the 107 from the Netherlands through turn 8. As Thien ran a bit wide there, as there is more positional changes through the 8 strong, as Thien's going to go for it again through into turn number 10 to retake the lead. That's a handful of positions. I count that's 3 of my fingers in terms of overtaking, but it's not the case as Nick Gerhardt's running the back bumper of Jane Thien, trying to go for a second up the inside of the final corner and makes the move, but then Thien already does the cutback, switches back up the inside of Nick Gerhardt to retake the position. This is an absolute dogfight for second. It was the lead, it's now for P2. So Jane Thien coming under scrutiny from Gerhardt, who sends it up the inside. Really good job there. Absolutely brilliant job from Nick Gerhardt, but Jane Thien quick on the counter-attack. And then it's again swapping positions. They've swapped second 3 times in 3 corners. Corner turn 2, 3 and 4 in rapid succession. So it is Tim and brother Nick at the front of the field. The Gerhardts out in force 1 and 2 with Jane Thien. Great battle for what looks to be 4th and 5th position. That's probably between Lakiron Sorensen and Enzo Boll. And Boll is currently leading that at the moment with a Dane just behind the Dutch driver in what is effectively 5th place. Just behind them looks to be Teun Schmidt. And we've got Jens van der Eyden, Jes Verleners rounding out the 8 strong in this field. So they come around to complete another lap. And at the moment it's still all to play for, but Jane Thien has dropped off significantly off of the back bumpers of the 2 Gerhardts. So Tim leading from Nick. Gap is not probably as much as what Tim might actually want, but nevertheless still going to have an opportunity to keep that lead going. Gap was just over 5.5 tenths last time around. As they surge their way through into turn number 6, we're now on to lap number 3 of this encounter. And we've got just over 10 minutes remaining, plus an additional lap to conclude the Minimax final and also the Minimax season here. Can I call drivers 369, 380, 358 and 309 for the second chance heat to the pre-grid immediately? That's 369, 358, 309 and 380. Please immediately report to the pre-grid for the second chance heat for Senior Max. Thank you. So it is still Tim and Nick Gerhardt that continue to lead the brotherly 1-2 here in the absolute deluge and damp on the circuit known as Karting Genk, the home of champions. As they go across the line, they complete another lap. Tim Gerhardt is the fastest out there, but the best times by the 2 brothers are literally pretty much in synchronicity within 3,000ths of a second of each other. Tim Gerhardt has the fastest lap of this race, a 1 minute 13.076, and then it's a further 3/1,000ths back to Nick Gerhardt's, a 1 minute 13.079, and they are pulling away from Jaden Thien. The gap now between Nick Gerhardt and Jaden Thien is probably about 1.6 seconds by my calculations. But the two brothers looking to show a bit of a sort of a Mercedes AMG Petronas Motorsport sort of flying formation. They're not on a lap yet, but I'm sure that someone will be punching the air very shortly, because it is all being said and done, and it's being closed off in fine style by the number 50 from the Netherlands, that is Tim Gerhardt. We still have plenty of this race left to go. 8 minutes and 24 on the clock remaining, plus an additional lap. Both Gerhardt's brothers come out of turn 11 and surge their way down into turn number 12. Jaden Thien a little bit further back still, not having an answer for the two brothers from the Netherlands, and is being closed by Locke Ron Sorensen, who's absolutely flying. Shades of Tom Christensen, Mr. Lamar himself. I think he's definitely didn't have a good run in the first final, as there's a great squabble all the way down, a little bit further down the order, and that looks to be possibly Jens van der Eyden getting past Turnschmidt for what is effectively 6th position on the road. Jasper Leenerts falling a little bit further behind, unfortunately, is the 177 from Belgium. However, he's still been able to fight with them at some point. Again, final call now, final call. 369, 358, 309, 380. This is your final call to the pre-grid for the Senior Max second chance seat. If you don't show up, you are not taking part. I repeat, final call out for those drivers. So we go into 7 minutes and 10 on the clock to go. Fast approaching the timer, hitting halfway here, and it is still the brothers Gerhardt, not the brothers Grimm, at the front of the field, still leading the way. Gap between them is now extended to just under a second. Could be closer to, well, could be just over a second, maybe very, very shortly. And it's 1.2. So Tim Gerhardt again sets the fastest lap of the race despite the wet weather conditions, and that is a 1 minute 12.873 from the Dutch driver. So really, definitely having a good turn of pace and enjoying himself out there. So 390 and 369 for Senior Max second chance heat, final call, last and final call. If you're not on the pre-grid, you are not taking part in the second chance heat. So we've made multiple calls out. So those drivers, if you've not made it through, made it down to the pre-grid for the second chance heat, you will not be partaking in it. That means we have 13 drivers on the pre-grid for that second chance heat for the seniors. Right, we've gone past the halfway in terms of the timer counting down. We're around about the 6 minute mark remaining, plus an additional lap here to go in the Minimax final race of the day. And now, hang on a minute. Now, I've just seen something very interesting indeed. Now, I'm just going to wait until they cross the finish line. Tim Gerhardt, has he had a moment? Because he's dropped down from first to fourth. So whether a standing water puddle has caught him out, I'm not too sure, but he's battling with Locke Ron Sorensen and sweeps round towards the outside into turn 3. Oh, he's putting on a show. Has a little bit of a moment, does Tim Gerhardt, and then comes firing back on all 125 cc's of the Rotax engine. So now up into third place is Locke Ron Sorensen, trying to get past the Dutch driver through turn 6, who's very wise to it, manages to get away and pull away down into turn number 7. So we're on to lap number 7 here. So we'll fast be completing that very, very shortly once the leaders come through. So now it's Nick Gerhardt, Jaden Thien, Locke Ron Sorensen, Tim Gerhardt, Turnschmidt, Enzo Bol, Jens van der Eyden and Jasper Leenerts as... Now, just keeping my eyes on what is actually happening here, because I'm just keeping an eye on the positioning of the drivers. So, now there's been a bit of a gap now, and that is from Tim Gerhardt to Locke Ron Sorensen. He's absolutely blasted away from him. Katimnika Metz, 369. This is your absolute final warning. If you are not on the pre-grid for the Senior Max second chance heat, you will not be taking part. 369, Tim Miko-Metz, report to the pre-grid immediately for the second chance heat for Senior Max. Thank you. So Nick Gerhards continues to lead instead of brother Tim. Jaden Thien about 2.6 seconds adrift, with Tim Gerhards now closing on the driver who was his title rival this season, Jaden Thien. And the gap was around 0.7 of a second exactly last time around. He may not finish with a flourish with a victory, but he's definitely going to make sure he hits the top three. Or is he going to go for second? It's very close because there is a lot of standing water heading into turn 9. That has definitely intensified with the amount of rain that has been hitting since the lunch break, and that's been over an hour in duration. So we're coming into the last 3 minutes and 18, plus an additional lap to go in his final Minimax race of the season. And for those wondering on the live stream, when Nick and Tim Gerhards were being interviewed, there's a Dutch film crew here doing a nice little piece on them, which will be hitting Dutch media very, very soon. So, and Nick Gerhards has a very consummate lead. It's about 2.5 seconds from now. Is he really going to steal the show with this kind of thunder? Is he, Tim Gerhards? He's got past Jaden Thien. He's only 2.5 seconds behind his twin brother and could start chasing him down. Funnier things have happened, haven't they? I'm not going to say that lightning does strike twice, because Tim Gerhards has been absolutely resolute and cutthroat this weekend, as he showed at Karting Genk when we started the season back in late March. And he's starting to pull away a little bit from Jaden Thien. So Nick Gerhards continues to lead. We have 2 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock, plus an additional lap. So here comes Nick Gerhards heading to turn 12. Now comes Tim Gerhards and Jaden Thien. Lucaron Sorensen, Tern Schmidt, Enzo Boll, Jens van der Eyden. And then a little bit further back comes Jasper Leenerts from Belgium. So the gap now between the two brothers. So Nick still leads by about 2.5 seconds in front of brother Tim, who has pulled away slightly from Jaden Thien. And that's actually quite a big pull away there as well. He actually was nearly a second quicker than Jaden Thien on that last lap. 1 minute 14, 3:06 from Jaden Thien, and 1 minute 13. He did, 1 minute 13.418, and the two brothers are literally putting in around about the same sort of lap, sector times. Sector 1, Nick was quicker by a tenth, a 28.9, a 29.0 for Tim Gerhards. So Nick makes his way down to turn 10 as we head into the last 60 seconds of the season here. So when they cross the start-finish line this time around, it will be the penultimate lap of the race and of the season. And Nick Gerhards crosses it with 45 on the clock remaining. Now comes Tim Gerhards, closes the gap to around just under 2.3 seconds. Jaden Thien dropping away yet again. I think that's it. The job has been done, and that's concluded things for this championship. I'm sure there's going to be a thunderous celebration as he comes across the line in just a couple of minutes. But Nick Gerhards looking to sign off his season in style. If anyone remembers the kickoff, Jaden Thien and Tim Gerhards came together off of turn 6, and in the last race of the weekend, which meant that Tim Gerhards didn't go to the International Trophy at Le Mans, whereas his brother did instead, as he capitalised and took the victory at the end of it, giving him the overall weekend win. So now the timer has expired. That is it. The Minimax season comes to its final hurrahs here at Karting Genk, as Nick Gerhards will now come out of turn 11 for the penultimate time, get his head down, head towards turn 12. So final lap board it is for Minimax in 2019 with the BNL Karting Series. And Nick Gerhards continues to lead. The gap now is just over 1.8 seconds ahead of brother Tim. Jaden Thien will have to settle for third place very soon, with Lucaron Sorensen still keeping in fourth place and still lapping in the 1 minute 13.1s. So quite comparative on pace with Tim Gerhards, who's still sitting in second position. as our leader now goes through turn 6 for the final time. Schmidt in 5th, Enzo Boll in 6th, with Jens van der Eyden and Jasper Lehnert rounding out the 8 strong as Jasper comes through turn 2, as Nick comes through turn 8. So we'll now concentrate on our leaders, and they are coming down towards turn 10 for the final time this season. So through turn 10 they come for the final time. Powering out of turn 11. And now it's the final corner. One more corner to go, and then to put the hammer down to the floor, as this time around it's not Tim, it's Nick Gerhards that wins, and provisionally speaking, someone's a very happy champion. Well done to Tim Gerhards, provisionally speaking, your 2019 BNL Karting Series Mini-Max champion in the number 50. Jaden Thien did his absolute best, but it was not enough, unfortunately. He takes 3rd place. We'll find out where he is in the standings at the end of this weekend very, very soon. Lakieron Sorensen in 4th place. Schmidt completes the top 5 with Enzo Boll, Jens van der Eyden and Jasper Lehnert completing the entire field. And Linus Cern are the brothers Gerhards going through turn 8. What a drive by Tim Gerhards. A fantastic season from the number 50 from the Netherlands, and well deserved, I must say. Impressed me this entire season. We got a glimpse at the kickoff back in late February, but he exploded out of the blocks like a 100-metre athlete and came good when it mattered the most. Now we come to the last of the second chance heats this weekend. Senior Max is the only category that has done so this weekend. So they have been released already. We're about 8 or 9 minutes behind schedule, obviously with the timekeeping issue we had earlier on. But your grid is as follows. On pole position will be Ben Donkin in the 3-4-8. Vincent van Kerkhoffen in 2nd. Victor Plateau, Endo Shogo from Japan, Yash Ramjankan, Patrick Rundquist, Emily de Hoys, Max Stemmerdink, Josh Powell, Ehad Turka, Zen Rudenberg, Oscar Hall and Georgios Beresis are the only 13 drivers, as Mads Ries and Tim Mika-Metz did not make it to the pre-grid in time, having been given multiple instructions to make their way there. So we'll have 13 drivers battling over the last 8 positions for the final this afternoon, which concludes the action for the 2019 season. So, on the clock we have 7 minutes plus 1 lap. They're now going to go on to the formation lap here at Karting Genk. So, Donkin, Van Kerkhoffen, Plateau, Shogo. Reese apparently would have started up at this front end of the field, but it's now going to be Yash Ramjankan and Emily de Hoys that will occupy 5th and 6th position ahead of Patrick Rundquist and Josh Powell, Max Stemmerdink, Ehad Turka, Zen Rudenberg, Oscar Hall and Georgios Beresis from Greece. As they're going to have to... now there's one driver looking at languishing a little bit out of the back part of the field. They may just put it into the pits, I'm not too sure, but definitely a long way behind, because if they're not all in formation, they're having to concertina up very quickly now on the the exit of turn number 9, as that driver that's on the back straight really needs to get a wriggle on and decides to take the cut through. Good initiative thinking there, I must be completely honest. But decided to do the cut through to catch up with the rest of the grid. I've never seen that before in a formation lap, but obviously someone wanted to take a shortcut. And that looks to be the 380... Well, I'm not too sure if it was Oscar Hall or whoever that was, but couldn't really catch it out of my line of sight. So, the penultimate race of the Senior Max class this weekend. 13 drivers ready to go into battle for 8 positions on the top 36 final. Here we go. Revs start to build. They rise heavily as the throttles are punched down hard, and we go lights out. Heading into turns 1 and 2, and it's 3 abreast around. Now there's someone being very audacious up into the middle of turn number 2, and that person has just taken the lead. That's an absolutely brilliant move there. But it's all falling apart for the rest of them just behind. So there was a very, very distinct manoeuvre there from somebody. I'm not too sure who that might have been. I'm wondering if that might have been someone like that wouldn't have been might have been Endel Sugar. Might have been, not too sure. But I'll find out very, very shortly. It doesn't look to be the case that it is the Japanese driver because he's running on a different chassis. However, we'll find out very soon as they come through turn 8 for the first time of asking, and we've had a spinner at the back part of the field. So someone definitely on the back foot has to really get back up into racing speed pretty quickly. And we've got around about 6 minutes and 5 to go, plus an additional lap, as there is definitely, looks to be Vincent van Kerkhoven in second. But the driver that's going to come out of turn 11 first is the 367. Yashran Jankan was an absolute opportunist, right in the middle of everybody going through. And Yash actually started from 5th position on the grid and just went into the middle as soon as the light went out and thought, right, I'm going to have a go here, and nailed it by the end of turn 3. So, Ramjankan, Plateau, Donkin, Van Kerkhoven, Endor Shogo, Emily de Hoy's up into 6th. At the minute, it looks to be Josh Powell that's dropped down to the back of the order. Rundqvist and Ehad Turka ran out the top 8. So those are the ones that are battling away for the final positions on the last race of the season, which will be the top 36 final for seniors. And there's a great battle for what is effectively for 5th place between 3 respective drivers. So it could be the likes of Shogo, De Hoys and Rundqvist that are battling over that position. And in the middle of that is De Hoys, or probably not for much longer. No, one to the outside, one to the inside, and up the inside goes Patrick Rundqvist. Now with the top 8, their positions, where they finish in this race, will dictate where they end up in the final a little bit later on today. So, Ramjankan continues to lead. Plateau in second. Looks like Ben Donkin in third. Endel Sugar has got past Vincent van Kerkhoven for position. He might have just lost out another place, and that could have been from Patrick Rundqvist. Up into 5th goes the Swede, which he does. And then you've got Emily de Hoys. And then in the last of the 8 positions at the moment is Ehad Turka, who's falling a little bit adrift, but has got distance between himself and Sven Rudenberg from the Netherlands. So Ramjankan now moving away and pulling away by quite a considerable margin, up to 1.3 seconds over Victor Plateau. As the field now makes its way, well, the majority of it, the top 7 or 8 drivers have made their way through. Emily de Hoys looks to have kept Ehad Tucker at bay for what is 7th position on the road there. But there's more positional changes. Changes now for what is 3rd place. So Shogo has been passed. That could be that could be Patrick Rundqvist that's just got up the order a little bit more now as the Swede. In the 358 now up into 3rd, past Endel Shogo. Ben Donkin now down into what looks to be around about 5th place as Yashran Jankan has gone streaking away a little bit now, up into nearly 1.5 seconds as Emily de Hoys has been passed by Ehad Turka for 7th. So de Hoys is now in the drop zone, so to speak, the driver that's really going to watch out now, because Zen Rudenberg is not that far behind. Oscar Hall in 10th, Max Stemmerdink, Georgios Bertasis and Josh Powell round out the 13. They're still circulating around the 1,360 metre circuit here at Karting Genk. But Ramjankan definitely making sure that he's getting away, as Patrick Rundqvist is trying to slingshot past Victor Plateau into second and makes the move even before turn 7. Nice work from the driver from KR Sport in the 358 representing Sweden. So Ehad Turka takes a tighter line going into turn number 8, and that nearly catches the Turkish driver out as Emily de Hoys was trying to cut through, but Turka trying to get up another place there. That's allowing Emily de Hoys to close up, and that's on Vincent van Kerkhoven. So Van Kerkhoven right in the rooster tails of Ehad Turka going through into turn number 10. So 367 still leads, 358. So it's still Ramjankan, now Rundqvist, Plateau, now being not so much bullied but pressurised by Endo Shogo from Japan, who's going to go up the inside and try and banzai his way through and makes the move, as Rundqvist is now challenging for the lead. As Shogo gets a bit tail happy, trying to put the power down, going into turn 3 whilst applying the brakes. So the Japanese driver got himself out of a bit of trouble there and managed to keep himself in 4th position. Ben Donkin, Ehad Turka, Emily de Hoys, Vincent van Kerkhoven is now in danger of losing 8th position if he's not careful. And about 0.3 of a second back is Zen Rudenberg and Max Stemmerdink. And that's probably about a 0.5 of a second gap. So, quick handshake there with Martin van der Stoys. Thanks for popping up and seeing me. I haven't met the guy yet, so good to get a nice firm handshake there. As Patrick Rundqvist is in the lead of the race now. The Swede has now got to fend off Ramjankan for the top position. So the Swede that started on 7th now hits the front of the field, and we have 45 seconds plus an additional lap to go. As Ben Donkin closing on the back bumper of the Japanese driver known as Endo Shogo in the 343. And then just behind them you've got Ehad Turka and Emily de Hoys line astern. Vincent van Kerkhoven trying to keep in proximity, trying to make sure that he stays in the top 8, because there is a bit of an expansive gap now between him and Zen Rudenberg. That is over 1.1 seconds. As then Ehad Turka gets pounced on up the inside by Emily de Hoys. Van Kerkhoven just behind the Turkish driver. So that's the battle for 7th and 8th as Emily de Hoys now puts herself in 6th position. And we have around about sort of a few seconds left of this race remaining. Not that long to go now. But that's it, time's up. This is the penultimate lap, and now Patrick Rundqvist is sprinting away despite the torrid wet weather conditions we're having here in the Limburg region ahead of Yash Ramjankan. Victor Plateau still staying resolute in 3rd place. Endo Shogo still in 4th, ahead of Ben Donkin from the United Kingdom. Then it is Emily de Hoys, Ehad Turka and Vincent van Kerkhoven, who, if he isn't careful, has then Rudenberg trying to chase him down at last place. But as we saw yesterday, with penalties being issued post-race, the order could change. I've had that happen yesterday. Who's not to say it could happen again? As we get the final lap board handed to Patrick Rundqvist on a silver platter. That's the sign the Swede needed as he goes into turn 2 for the final time. Ramjankan now in 2nd. Plateau in 3rd place. 4th it's Shogo. Donkin. De Hoys still ahead of Turka in 6th position. Van Kerkhoven really has got to watch it now. He's only got a few corners left and could try and get past Ehad Turka in the dying stages of this race, as the leader now blasts his way down into turn number 7. So Rundqvist gets a nice clean gap between himself and Yash Ramjankan for the lead, and now what is effectively going to be the victory, provisionally speaking, of this race. All results are called provisionally pending any post-race technical and sporting checks. It looks like the top 8 will remain as they are for the moment until we get official confirmation of the results. But through turn number 11 comes the flying Swede known as Patrick Rundqvist from 7th on the grid to be in the lead, and the checkered flag is going to wave for KR Sports Patrick Rundqvist, who powers out of the final corner and makes the quick dash to the start-finish line and secures his place in the top 36 final ahead of Yasharam Jankan from the Netherlands. Victor Plateau in third. Endo Shogel, Ben Donkin, Emily De Hoys, Ehad Toka, and a very, very lucky Vincent van Kerkhoffen round out the top 8 in that particular encounter. Zen Rudenberg, Max Demerdink, Josh Powell, Oscar Hall, and Georgios Bers's weekend have now come to an end here at Karting Genk. But Patrick Grunquist, by over 2.7 seconds, wins the second chance Senior Max Heat here at Karting Genk. So now we come to our last Junior Max encounter of the 2019 season. The title might be pretty much in the grasp of Mike van Voosts, if I'm right in saying, but it has been a bit of a fight back from Tom Heinertz this weekend, who has been ahead of the defending and reigning champion. We'll find out. I'm not going to provisionally confirm anything. We will do via our social media channels, let you know who our champions are once we have official ratification a little bit later on in social media. But the grid is as follows. Vilgot Edqvist again starts on pole position. Alongside him will be Danny van Dijk from the Netherlands. Chris Harnen and Mylan Coppens round out the top 2 rows ahead of Mike van Voost and Ollie Pilker. Christian de Klein and Kai Rieler start on row number 4 ahead of Flint Schuring and Matthew Higgins from Wales. Tom Heinertz and Jeff Michiels round out row 6 ahead of Oscar Christensen, Bruno Mulders, Lars Zane and Jules Castro, Dan Ginchard, Tom Braken, Spencer Schinner and Tom Adams rounding out the top 20. There were quite a few penalties post the first final a bit earlier on today. Max Knappen and Janos Opfi row 11, Summer Webb and Nikita Genser row 12, Margot Bonvoisin and Daniel Sorankov in row 13, Callum Voisin and Wood Kirstens, that's row 14, Sam Bergstein and Derek Janssen in row 15 with Georgios Kalifadis and Charles Peters, row 16, with Jeffrey Fixer, part of it, and Jules Van Hoel rounding out the 35 strong. All drivers set to compete over 13 minutes plus an additional lap. Now, if you saw the first final earlier on today, you think that's something. I might be opening the can, but it's of something completely different. Don't worry, it's not alcohol. I'm looking forward to having the adrenaline coursing through my veins as they go at it again. This time it's 13 minutes plus an additional lap. So your top 10 is Edqvist, Van Dijk, Harnen, Coppens, Van Voost, Pilker, De Klein, Rielertz, Schuring and Higgins. That is your top 10. So they now pretty much slow to a crawl, coming towards turn number 10. So we're not having the short break, but we will extend proceedings in some way, shape or form here at Karting Genk in the form of that, and we are now pretty much running to time. We've cut out the short break, we're about 5 minutes behind schedule, but the racing action is about to really kick off. We're in the business end of the weekend and the business end of the 2019 BNL Karting Series season. A big thank you to Gil Alvarez saying, "Hi mate, catching up with the stream now. What lovely weather you are having there." Yes, thank you very much, Guillaume. He's been watching over where he is at the moment, so thank you very much for tuning in. So we go lights out for the final time in Junior Max, and it's three abreast at the front of the field. A huge rooster tail, and there are spinners everywhere. Oh no, it's gone off again, and it's absolute chaos into turn 2. Someone's 180 degrees the wrong way, and who's leading? It's a battle, and Mike van Vogts is at the front of it. Well, he's in second position at the moment as the young Dutchman. He really is making a measure of trying to make sure that he gets 2 titles this year. He's already secured the Rotax Max Euro trophy back at Wackersdorf, defending that title earlier on last month. Now he's got a chance of doing 2 here, and it's been very interesting how things are going to proceed over the next 12 or so minutes, because now my adrenaline is pumping through my veins like petrol. Now Van Vogts has gone very wide. He's lost out second position now. That could be to Mylan Coppens. Who's in the lead? That is Danny Van Dyke, maybe? So where is Vilgot Edqvist in all of this? And that's my main concern here, because everyone's been fighting over the same piece of tarmac as we've got someone slowing the back part of the field. Vilgot Edqvist is behind. Now that's Christian Decline up front, isn't it? On the 299, the CRG. That is the case. Let's just see as they cross the start-finish line. Christian Decline got an absolute hole shot. 7th to 1st by the end of lap 1. Mike van Vogts is behind Vilgot Edqvist. Mylan Coppens, Ollie Pilker, Oscar Christensen, Tom Heinetz, Danny Van Dyke, Flint Schuring, and there have been a multiple amount of casualties dropping down the order. Jeff Michiel's one of them. Kai Hielertz was actually... Now, where was Kai Hielertz? 8th, and he's dropped all the way down to 27th. So Jules Van Hoel was the non-starter on this grid, would have started 34th. So we've got someone else going off track, heading into turn number 5, so had to end up doing some grass cutting with the front bumper on his kart. But at the moment, Christian Decline is leading. Vilgot Edqvist in second. Mike van Vogts in 3rd place. So there's Pilker battling away with Mylan Coppens again. So going to be very interesting for how Pilker responds to get past Mylan Coppens. He was vice champion this year in the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. The guy who was in 3rd in the standings is actually the guy in 2nd position in the minute. Vilgot Edqvist running on the Praga chassis from IPK. So Decline just keeping out in front, keeping his nose clean. And the gap now between him and Edqvist has dropped to just under 9/10 of a second. Van Vogts in 3rd, Coppens in 4th, Pilker, Van Dyke, Heinetz, Christensen, Schuring, Schinner, Zanen, De Witt, Harnen in 13th, Ginchard in 14th, and Tom Adams in 15th place. As it is really, as we've got another spinner off of turn 2, quickly gets recomposed and puts the throttle down. It's been tricky for everyone today. And that driver not having the best of run of luck in the office. Bruno Mulders, in the meantime, has dropped down to pretty much stone dead last at the moment. So Bruno Mulders started down in 14th, and he's now down in 34th. So he must have been one of those unwilling participants. I think anyone, in terms of having unwilling incidents, definitely do not want to drop down to the bottom of the order. But Vilgot Edqvist is closing on Christian Decline for the race victory. As we have 9 minutes and 24 on the clock remaining, plus an additional lap still to go here in the Junior Max season. As Flint Schuring coming under increasing pressure from Oscar Christensen, and the Dane is trying to go up the inside of the Dutchman and tries to make the move through turn 12, makes it stick, forces Flint Schuring a little bit wide there, but without making adverse contact, as Edqvist has gone for the lead and got it on Christian Decline through turn 2. Great move by the Swede, and just behind is Mike van Vogts from the Netherlands. So Van Vogts running the 201 as the rain again has intensified. This is really going to start putting the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons, and all of them, all 34 of them, are on the circuit at the moment in terms of pigeons rather than cats, because the cat is definitely the rain that's falling from up above, and it's still intensifying Hand over fist. Ed Chris leading. Christian de Klein in second. Ollie Pilker now up into fourth behind Mike Van Vroot, and is closing on the back bumper of the JJ Racing driver. And is going up the inside and takes the position. Or does he? That's dependent on whether Van Vroot can get the power down easily out of turn number 9 and actually slingshots down towards turn 10. Going to see whether they come out of turn 11 unscathed. And that is the case, and Van Vroot has lost out to Danny Van Dyke in this instance. So Van Vroot, I think, pretty much has just been on a damage limitation in this round of the weekend, which has definitely been the case. He was fighting for the lead with Christian de Klein a little bit earlier on. So in many respects, Vilgot Edquist has a lead of about 0.6 of a second.